this beautiful lady, I've heard a lot about you. Your reputation precedes you, and there will be another panel session coming soon, ladies and gentlemen, and an opportunity to ask questions to all the speakers. Our next speaker is Qifeng Yi. She's going to talk about the Coorong fish and the Salt Creek fish monitoring. Associate Professor Qifeng Yi from SARDI, Aquatic Sciences, is a fish ecologist with extensive research and experience, thank you, in freshwater and estuarine. How do you say estuarine? Estuarine, yes. Ecosystems. Her work has informed the management of water for the environment, habitat restoration and fisheries in the River Murray and Coorong, lower lakes and Murray Mouth. So big round of applause for Qifeng. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's great to be here at the 20 years TLM event to talk about Coorong fish ecology. And before I get into details, I think I should thank my team that they supported this research for a long time, and also that thanks to all the funding bodies. But I want to say that one thing I really love about my career and my work, research work at SARDI, is that working really closely with managers. And in this case, most of them are water managers, and we do highly applied research to basically inform management. And of course, I love fish and doing science. Fish in the Coorong and lower lakes, I think there are really diverse fish species across. In the basin, I reckon that Lakes and Coorong area would host the highest diversity of species. And you see all those large body fish that support important commercial fishery and recreational fishery. But there are very small fish, medium fish, different shapes of fish. They have huge ecological values and cultural values. So it's great that you see all here. So it's really sort of precious, unique. And very important, talking about the Coorong estuary, it's at the interface of freshwater and marine. So you've got that salinity gradient, and all these fish have different life histories. So looking at how they use estuary, that you've got diatomaceous fish, that they need to move between marine freshwater estuary to complete their life cycle. And typically, like you see that mulloway, lamprey, eels in this system, or galaxies. But then you also got these purely estuarine species we call solely estuarine. They complete their life history within estuarine system, and typical species like black bream, even very small smallmouth hardy-head, and many gobies. And then you also got those marine estuarine opportunistic species, which is typically like mulloway, flounder, and sandy spread. They breed in the marine system, but they frequently come into the estuaries in large numbers. Very often use estuary as nursery ground or feeding ground. And it's really sort of highly important estuarine to them as part of their life cycle. And you also got freshwater species turn up. So some of them, like freshwater opportunistic species, they got higher salinity tolerance. They frequently visit estuary, and particularly like currently under flood condition, estuarine is quite fresh. So they come in, but freshwater, fresh species, they also come in either dislocated by flood coming to the system, and then they move into the freshwater. So connectivity is really important in the dynamic estuarine system. An important feature to stress is clearly that freshwater play a pivotal role in maintaining the estuarine habitat health. And also, of course, the fish population dynamics is really dependent on that. Now, I think Adrian showed a long-term barrage flow, and this is 30 years barrage discharge. And even that in recent years, like post-millennium drought, all those flows is still I think it's still only 2 years meeting that long-term discharge, mean discharge, before regulation. And currently, the actual, that 30 years average is about 70% less than pre-regulation average. So there's a massive decline in the end of system flow. And I should say that environmental water, I know the River Murray environmental waters occur earlier, and then more recent years, since 2009, bigger bucket of Commonwealth environmental water holder coming in. And I think these higher flows is including environmental water. What I want to stress is that the green circle bit is in these drier years, without environmental water, it would have been like millennium drought. So example is like those years, 100% of the barrage discharge were environmental water too. So it's really powerful, and particularly during dry years, to maintain the system health and resilience. So getting to our fish monitoring, a lot of work that I do is a lot of fish monitoring occur that from the mid to late millennium drought. And it's great that the longest term monitoring is funded by the River Murray program. So really appreciate that. Now talking about the fish monitoring, the River Murray monitoring in the Coorong is mainly focused on fish condition monitoring. It has been 16 years. So condition monitoring is the one that I'm going to focus on, and I'll touch on other work about intervention monitoring on salt wedge and black bream, also a little bit about Salt Creek and Morella fishway monitoring. So the River Murray condition monitoring, we have 3 icon species, which is black bream, greenback flounder, smallmouth hardy-head. So the main objective is looking at the long-term condition, as before that Davey and Sabine indicated. So we want to look at how the population condition score change through a range of assessment. But I should mention that that monitoring actually helped to collect the whole fish assemblage data. So you look at the overall fish assemblage, how that changed through multiple years and with varying hydrological conditions. And you understand the flow requirement and flow impact in the system. For the salt wedge and black bream recruitment monitoring, it's mainly some years we did targeted monitoring, working really closely with agents and other managers to basically investigate the barrage flow, how that affect the estuarine conditions that are suitable for black bream recruitment, because it provides a really specific requirement and nursery ground that help the early life history survival of black bream larvae. And then the third one, that Salt Creek and Morella fishway, it's, I think Dave actually touched on about Southeast program, but one good thing about Southeast Flow program is building 2 fishways, one at Morella, one at Salt Creek, improving the connectivity between the Coorong and Southeast, which before regulation, probably they are much more connected, so help with fish passage, particularly for diagamous fish that they need to move between the systems, and it's life history driven, but also a lot of South Lagoon Coorong species, when the salinity is really high and really stressful, they got lower salinity refugia that they can move and escape. So it's really sort of a great initiative. And I won't go into details about monitoring method, but clearly that we use a range of methods, including quantitative sampling, standard sampling using SandNet, FlightNet. We analyze fish year bones, otolith. So we do the transfer section looking at daily ring or annual rings to age fish. And then also some of them about salt wedge, we use environmental zone, which is water quality zone, to quantitatively characterize salinity, DO, temperature, and look at some modeling and looking at favorable conditions in the Coorong estuary. For fish weigh assessment, we do trapping, fish weigh trapping at fish weigh entrance and exit to do the assessment. But importantly, also you capture the data about the movement pattern of fish across different seasons and different years. So share with you a few results. So this is, sorry about the hirandogram, it's late night, but you just need to look at those colorful boxes at the bottom. So it's basically, we also use a range of indicators. So you look at smallmouth hardy-head, which is an important prey species in the Coorong. And so we look at their abundance and distribution, and we look at the younger ones, the new recruits, look at how good their recruitment is year by year. And so the dotted line is basically showing that the target, the long-term average, whether if it is above, then you meet the target, their abundance. If it is below, you don't meet it. And the little box tick is that is also that whether they meet the target about a certain distribution criteria. Are they broadly distributed across the Coorong or not? So just the result, smallmouth hardy-head, clearly that you see that during the end of millennium drought, it's almost hugely declined and they disappear in the South Lagoon. So, and then also that the condition overall in the Coorong is extremely poor. Gradually, after the 2010-11 flood, 1 or 2 years, the recruitment index increased, population condition quickly changed and responded. So getting to very good condition, but if it is a few years during the dry years, again, condition decline a bit, but then with high flow 2016-17, and then later on higher flow, you can see generally getting green, so the population improved. And it's nicely aligned. You see those are flow, high flow, medium flow, low flow years. It's generally sort of showing flow is a big driver. And hardy-head is a short-lived species. They responded fast, like within a year or two, they would have popped out. Looking at black bream, unfortunately, that population condition is very poor for many years, starting from millennium drought. Even water came back, they don't recover fast. But the more encouraging thing, as you see in more recent years with the flow, all the environmental water provide you more sort of ability to be able to manage the barrage release. And also, I think Adrian touched on about it's even greater focus about how we better operate the barrage rather than just dump the water at any time. So more aligning with ecological need, that's really critical. So I can see that population improvement to where the recent years of black bream is, see their strong recruitment in a few years, particularly strong recruitment in a few years, and then the increase of abundance. I should say that we introduced about using the fisheries catch data also to help assessing these large body fish. And another thing is the age structure. Because they are long-lived, not like smallmouth hardy-head. So long-lived species, one thing is that their population demographic is important. You've got some young fish, medium-lived fish, long-lived fish, so a nice composition of the age structure is showing that population resilience. And you also see the variation of age cohort strength. It shows you that, which year the recruitment is really strong, and you can link to the flow condition to see what is helping with their recruitment success. And yeah, it doesn't align with the water flow very well. However, I think because it's a long-lived species, so it's multifactorial effect on their population dynamics. Greenback flounder is something in between. I think they are marine estuarine opportunistic species. If with the flow, Coorong condition improve, and then they will recruit better to the Coorong. So you can see that somewhere in between they align well. Greatly to see also that in more recent years with high flow, that they really have a great improvement in the population. So just quickly to touch on that, these are MDS, and thanks for being, and Jason introduced that. So it's showing that the population in Murray Estuary, North Lagoon, South Lagoon clearly separate throughout these 17 years. And so those circle ones showing millennium drought, that they're way different, that population. And then in recent, so it's more dominated by marine species. But in recent years, following the flow, you've got more freshwater species in the Coorong and Mulloway, and also like Diogenes species and many estuarine species. So you can see the whole shift in the population throughout the Coorong with the change. So what flow does. So similar to what Sabine showed you, we plot the species diversity against salinity. It clearly shows with salinity increase, species diversity reduce, and that 60 parts per thousand, it seems beyond that, there's massive crash about species diversity. And they align well with environmental threshold analysis, and you can see that their salinity tolerance, again lining beyond 60, many species couldn't tolerate that, except smallmouth hardy-head. They can tolerate up to 108 parts per thousand. And I'll skip that. Those are more fresher water species. These are estuarine species and marine estuarine opportunistic. Now, for black bream, I just touch on two things. As I said, that enough, but from business, we characterize the salt wedge condition in a quantitative manner. And we collected young of the year black bream. And then we did the daily aging. So you can relate that temperature, flow condition, and then again associated salt wedge conditions, what is the quantity throughout the Coorong, and link to the black bream recruitment success. So it definitely guides the flow management in a really sort of effective way. And I think that's a highlight. Now, quickly touch on about Salt Creek and Morella Fishway. So those yellow arrows show the entrance and exit of both fishways. If you haven't seen them, it's great. Go have a look. And one highlight is through our 2 years monitoring, it's great that we got 8 species. I was surprised about the diversity that got attracted to the area. And we got that Diogenes species that they need to move for their life history purpose, but quite abundant yellow-eye mullet came all the way down there, moved all the way up, including to the Morella. And we got black bream, of course, a lot of hardy-head, and blue spot goby, and we even got freshwater flat-headed gudgeon. A highlight is that all this, it's great that to get Ngarrindjeri communities help through NEC organizing their help. And I think it's really great to have them, because when we have to count millions of smallmouth hardy-head, really need a hand to support that. And that young bloke, I think it's Jaden. So he came with his dad, Gordon, and he's really loved Congoli. He said he never seen that before. So his mother told him about all the stories. So he really appreciated that. And sorry, a few key messages. So it's highly dynamic fish assemblage in the estuary from year to year, and also along the salinity gradient. Just to stress the end of system flow, it's really pivotal because they shape the salinity gradient, help with the connectivity, and also bring in the productivity and improve the food resource. And environmental water is really needed for the end of the system. That need to be delivered, I think, in the Lower Murray through a coordinated manner across the southern connected basin. That's really important. Now, again, that everyone mentioned about science to underpin management is critical, and without the long-term data, it's really sort of a snapshot. You can't understand the system and help with the management. Thanks very much. And yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah, all right.